We're going to bring all the excitement tonight. Just ask Coach O. We'll show you what happened on the mat and celebrate what took place on the court. So glide into that favorite easy chair as we bring you all the tallies. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. Things are really getting going. All the sports are in full play.
Yeah, winter sports are rolling and moving along. We got some snow. The weather is cool. That means the ski season is going to start this week on schedule. Fingers still a little bit crossed.
Yes, it should. It definitely should at this point.
Well, the boys hockey team opened its season on Tuesday. The Cardinals expecting big things this season. It started with a trip to Rogers to face the Royals, a team they handled pretty easily last year. But Rogers came in ready to roar, and they had already beaten Anoka, and they pounced on the Cardinals right away. Less than 2 minutes into the game, Royals on the prowl. Mitch Becker walking across top of the slot, goes top shelf glove side. Home team on the board very early. Late in the first, Rogers up 2-0. Cardinals turn it over behind their own net. It's played out front. Bobby Bjorgen slides it under Wise. Royals up 3-0 after one. They expand on it in the second, catching the Cardinals on a line changer, and Schmidt the shot. Wise the save for the rebound. There for Dylan Titten on the doorstep. Cardinals finally find the net on a 5-on-3 power play. Jake Van Holzen gets it through the keeper, but it just was not enough. They couldn't sustain the pressure. Down 6-1 before the power play strikes again. Freshman A.J. Carl's getting his first career goal, but it comes in a 7-2 loss to Rogers.
Tough opener for the boys hockey team, obviously, and it was something that they had hoped that they'd get off to the right start and get that win. But you're right, Rogers did a really nice job of just swarming them and really playing well. And again, putting 7 goals in the back of the net makes it tough anytime.
Well, and Coon Rapids really didn't get going the way they are capable of. A lot of first game jitters, perhaps. They played much, much better on Thursday night in Elk River. The Elks have historically handled the Cardinals relatively easily, but Cardinals gave them everything. This was one really fun hockey game. 9 goals scored in the second period.
Crazy. 5
for the Elks, 4 for the Cardinals. The Elks pull out the 7-6 win. Tommy Carls had 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. A.J. Carls had 3 goals and an assist. Kirby Peary, 1 of each. Jake Van Holzen, a pair of assists. And Connor Wise had 45 saves on 52 shots.
A lot of work. Boy, he saw a lot of work.
He was busy. They did open the home schedule on Saturday with a win over St. Francis. The Saints certainly not the same level of competition, and the Cardinals handle them relatively easy. Tommy Carls got the hat trick this time. AJ had a goal and 2 assists. Kirby had 2 goals. Tyler Flattabo had a goal as well. Connor Wise only needed to make 19 saves. A much easier evening.
Much easier evening.
But it's nice to see the Cardinals starting to play a little better. I of course, had seen them in the preseason, right. So I was pretty disappointed with the showing against Rogers. There's a lot of guys standing around, which is not typical of the way they play. They played much, much better both Thursday and Saturday, particularly on Thursday as far as their hustle level and not getting down when they fell behind. They had a couple of leads in that game. It was really fun to see the way they competed against an Elk River team and just pushed on the Elks to make sure that they beat them. And then against St. Francis, they just took care of business. They played really sound defensively and positionally, and they knew 2 of those 3 goals, I think, came on power plays for St. Francis.
Well, granted, it wasn't a win against Elk River, but Elk River's a powerhouse in high school hockey, and for them to go toe-to-toe and lose by a goal 7-6 and score some goals against a team like Elk River, that it's not a win, but it kind of is a win in itself in a way. But then to come back and win, put in 7 goals of their own the next game, it's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Another huge test for them. Centennial, another perennial power, visiting the Crick on Thursday. They host Tino Grace in a Saturday matinee affair over at the Ice Center as well. Girls hockey team getting a couple games in last week. It started with a trip to see Bloomington Jefferson, and they get their first win of the season over the Jaguars. a little bit of a lesser opponent than most of the rest of their schedule, but they needed to get that victory. Johnson had 2 goals to lead the way. Hannah Lisney a goal and an assist. Baker and Peterson each had 2 assists. Bailey Shuck made 21 saves. And then a little disappointing only because they felt they dominated this game over Spring Lake Park on Saturday. The Bluebirds, put up something like 35 shots or more against Spring Lake Park, but could only find the back of the net twice. Had to settle for a tie against the Panthers. Of course, for the Coon Rapids program, their former co-op team, the Panthers.
Yeah, I know you talked to Coach Coltis after that, and he said the fact that they played so well and didn't get the win, you're better off with a tie than you are with a loss. But in a way, when you play so well, disappointing not to get the W.
Yeah, and it's a team that's been a little snake-bitten early in the season, and they really want to find some rhythm and some flow. They've got a couple of games coming up this week that could give them a chance to put a couple more in the win column. They're at Totino on Tuesday. That game over at the Super Rink, and it will be right here on CTN. They are at Duluth on Friday.
Well, the wrestling team started the season with a very busy weekend, 4 matches in less than 24 hours. It started with a visit from section rival St. Francis on Friday night. The Cardinals start the season ranked 15th, but they came out on a mission to prove they're being grossly underrated. Cardinals dominate the lower weights against the Saints, a major decision at 103, and they start the pin parade. Sophomore Nick Lattery gets the headlock on and squeezes for the finish, just the start of a big weekend for that young man. Up next, John Svobodny at 126, and what works once sometimes works again. Svobodny will throw his man in a headlock as well, starting his senior season out with a pin. Nice job there. They're certainly not to be outdone. Gabe DeGris makes it 3 in a row for the home team, getting chest to chest with the Saints grappler, pushing for the slap on the mat. Cardinals won the first 5 matches and 11 of 14 all night. No more pins, but Moise Madimba comes close. Great single leg takedown with a whistle right here. Moise wins with a tech fall at 170, and the Cardinals are going to cruise to a relatively easy 45-15 victory.
Yeah, a little bit surprising because St. Francis has been such a tough squad historically, and one of those other Section 7 teams that they always like to put on the schedule to see how they're doing early in the season. If that's your measuring stick,
it's a nice start.
Very, very well done. Well, it got even tougher on Saturday. They had to Hastings. The Hastings squad came in ranked just above the Cardinals. Okay, that's the 3rd place game. They beat Hastings in the opener. Hastings was just ranked a little bit ahead of them. They won in a tiebreaker after winning, again, really strong in the lower weights. Hastings came back to tie with a pin at heavyweight, went to tiebreaker. Coon Rapids 130-130. They lost to number 1 ranked Shakopee, but then in the 3rd place match saw St. Francis again and beat them 42-21, taking care of business again. Nick Lattery, 4-0 on the weekend with 3 pins. Moses Madimba, 3-1 with 2 tech falls. And I believe this one's Enoch. There's also Elijah Madimba. 3 Madimbas in the lineup. But this is Enoch at 106. Just a freshman. He went 3-1 with 2 major decisions over the weekend. John Svobodny, 3-1, a couple of pins. Gabe DeGris, also 3-1 with a pair of pins. And believe it or not, the road gets even busier this weekend. Yeah. They host a try on Friday and a tournament, a duels tournament on Saturday. So they'll probably wrestle 5 matches in just over 24 hours. Friday into Saturday.
It's always that way for the wrestling team, especially at the beginning of the season. You see a lot of meets early and a lot of important meets against some really good competition. Nice start to the season at 3-1.
Great start. It will be interesting to see how quickly they make it into that Dirty Dozen.
Yep.
I can't imagine they're too far out even after just 4 matches.
I would think so.
Well, the swimming and diving team gets the season started this week with a trip to face Anoka on Thursday, then the Northwest Suburban Conference Relays on Saturday. Cardinals continue to grow and get stronger. Last year, they surged to 4 victories, doubling their total from the previous season. They have a group coming back that is eager to keep that momentum going.
We have 26 returning, so we have a very experienced team compared to last year.
The Cardinals lost some quality leaders, but they return a really strong core that includes a lot of the team's top point getters.
Since last year's seniors are gone, it's a little different because of the dynamic that they had, but we're going to bring it this year even better.
Turnover is unavoidable in high school sports, but when you start with a really young team, growth is inevitable. Several of the Cardinals' top guys have yet to hit their peak and just continue to improve.
We got a lot of new guys that come in with some talent, and we have returning guys that have a lot of talent. So I think we're setting up pretty well.
The Cardinals have a strong senior group, some of whom are starting their 6th season with the team. They've been a big part of the program's recent growth and know what they need to do to keep it going.
Get our new guys up to speed so we can have a full-on team when we go out to do our first meet.
At its core, swimming and diving is an individual sport. At the same time, the Cardinals need to work together and push each other to be better if they hope to achieve their goals as a team.
He's the one who motivates me to swim faster every day. We usually kick side by side. When he pulls ahead, I pull ahead, and vice versa. So he really pulls me to go keep going faster. And then the new kids, I got to make sure they look up to someone, which is the captains, including me.
About a quarter of the Cardinals team is new to the sport, and it'll take some time for them to get into the flow. They have plenty of guys ahead of them ready to help them every step of the way.
To make sure that people are not discouraged when they do not get first in a race. I know I was like that when I first joined the team, but I learned later that it's not all about winning.
The Cardinals should have a good chance to beat some teams they haven't beaten in a long, long time. But their ultimate focus will be the tournaments at the end of the season. As long as they're swimming their best when it matters most, the season will be a success.
Seeing development from the team, I think that's one of my favorite things to see. Just see how people beat their best times and how they improve.
Very excited to see what they're able to do. You know, we talked a lot of energy around the pool. They already went in and updated the record board with Megan Schultz putting up five school records. Well, included in the 2 relays. But they put up 5 school records on the boards there at Northdale Middle School pool, and I asked Doug and I asked some of the guys about it, and they definitely know. Probably not going to see the same kind of record-breaking performance from this group, but it definitely the energy feeds over.
Well, with Coach Johnson at the helm, there's no surprise. There's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement at the pool because he brings it, and I think his swimmers feed off of that.
Well, and they just have a great time, and that is why both boys and girls swimming programs are really beginning to thrive. As I mentioned at the top, they're at Anoka on Thursday. That's a tough duel for them to start right away, so they'll know what they have right from the get-go. The Northwest Suburban Conference relays at Northdale on Saturday. Gymnastics team gets its season going this week. They're at Champlain Park on Thursday. Then they don't have another meet until Saturday the 22nd. We tried to get out. We're not able to meet up with them last week. We're hoping to do so this week, do more of a preview for them. Same goes for the Nordic team. Of course, there was no snow on the ground most of last week, but I exchanged some emails with Coach Green. They are going to race on Thursday at Elm Creek.
Great. Good. Get that started.
The season will start, as we talked about, on schedule, at least for the time being. We're going to hopefully get out and get a preview with them this week as well. There's an age group classic for the Northwest Suburban over at Highland next Wednesday. Alpine ski team still has a couple of weeks. Their first race is on the 18th at Wild Mountain, and then they don't race again until after the first of the year.
Good to see them all get going. Well, for the 3rd season in a row, the boys basketball team, they opened the season against section rival Forest Lake. The teams traded wins the first 2 meetings, with the road team winning each of the last 2 years. And as the Cards traveled north on 35W Friday night, they figured to keep that trend intact. Another great battle between these 2 squads, and the Rangers came out for all guns firing. Hunter Damon hits one of Forest Lake's 6 3-pointers in the first half. Well, the Cards never let them pull away. Jordan Doe off the feed from Jaden Palmer, able to get it to the go. He finished with 8 points in the opener. Coon Rapids steals the momentum late in the half. Defense to offense. Great kickback from McGrath. Marshall Holland hits the 3. Cardinals able to go to the break with a 35-30 lead. Second half, and it's more perimeter prowess from the Rangers. They had 14 three-pointers in the game from 7 different players. This one tied at 54. It would stay that way close. Cardinals looking for the answer. Holland shot off the mark. Cards get it back. Check the fake by Lucky Morange. Gets himself room. The easy layup. That was a nice play by Lucky. Rangers' next trip down the court, they move it well and find another guy with a good look from there. Darrell Young Jr. hits it and gives the Rangers a 63-60 lead. That's when the tide turned. Cardinals defense getting a lot of steals. This one down court to Jackson Arelis. He had a monster game. 16 of his 26 came in the second half. Now the Cardinals were able to pull away at the end. Luck was clearly on their side. Watch this shot by Elijah McGrath. He gets fouled, throws it up, somehow gets it to go. Cardinals are going to start the season with a 78-69 win, Joe, and that game was a lot of fun.
That shot is when you know
things are working.
Something is going in your favor.
Exactly.
I mean, it was
a lot
unreal.
of fun.
I loved Lucky's fake, though. Lucky's fake was outstanding, and Jackson Aurelius he was in a zone to be certain in the second half. But the shot of the game, no question, is Elijah McGrath just kind of throwing it up over his head.
Nothing but a thing. Yeah, it went in.
It was great.
And the thing about this, if they can get that kind of production from a number of different players, it's going to be a nice season for the Coon Rapids Cardinals.
What they brought off the bench was really exciting.
Agreed.
And gave them maybe a little more depth than either of the last two years' teams.
Yep.
I don't know that they went as deep with as many weapons the last 2 years. So it should be interesting to see what they can do. They've got a little bit of a breather. They don't play at all this week. They're at Cambridge Isani next Tuesday and then at St. Francis the following Saturday. The girls basketball team opened its season in front of the home fans on Tuesday night, hosting section rival Cambridge Isani. Cardinals beat the Blue Jackets by 14 in last year's opener, and they were hoping for similar results to start this season. This is a young team on a mission to improve on last year's record, and now it was time to step up. Cardinals don't get the start they were looking for. Blue Jackets jump to the early lead. Brooklyn Terwilliger hits a three, visitors up 16-8. Red didn't look too concerned, and the girls proved he didn't need to be. Who's going to step up to fill the holes? How about sophomore Kylie Hetworth? Had the hot hand in the first half for the Cardinals. She hits threes from beyond the arc to help turn the momentum. This one from the left wing put Coon Rapids in front 18-16 at the half. Second half, Hetworth feeds Ashley Flatham in the corner. She knocks down a three-pointer of her own. Cardinals starting to open up that lead. They never looked back. Defense leading to offense late in the game. Hetworth again jumping the passing lane, taking it coast to coast for the basket. She had 16 as the Cardinals hold on for the 39-32 win.
Nice way to start the season for them. Coach Peterson said, it took us a while to gain that lead in the first half. Once they did, they didn't look back, and they got the first win of the season.
Well, and talking to her a little bit before Friday's game, she said, I think the girls took it a little soft because of their history against the Blue Jackets, and they learned they can't do that.
Well, fortunately, they stepped up and got the win because it would not have been good the other way around.
No.
Well, it's always good to start with a win, but the Cardinals knew the schedule would get a lot harder starting with their very next game. On Friday, well, the Cardinals traveled to take on Forest Lake, who was ranked in the top 10 early in the season. The Rangers beat Andover by 23 points in their opener. The Cardinals knew they had any chance they would have to keep it close until the end. Coon Rapids getting the start they need. Lainey Hanneman makes her way to the lane, pulls up for the medium-range jumper. She had a double-double with 10 points and 11 boards. Destiny Artis able to use her speed to find the lane to the basket. That kept the Cardinals within a point early in the half. We're going to move to late in the half now. Lexi West kicks it out to Ashley Flatham. She's going to hit the three-pointer. Cardinals are within striking distance, down by 4 at the break. But unfortunately, things fell apart in the second. The Cardinals go ice cold from the floor. It was more than 13 minutes into the second half before they scored. A lot of credit goes to Forest Lake's defense. They made it really hard on the Cards, and their offense did not struggle at all in the second. Lexi Hultman lays it up, plus the foul. She was one of 3 Rangers in double digits. Abigail Gronewig led all scorers in the game with 18. Great drive to the lane right here. Forest Lake pushes the lead to over 30 and wins by a score of 59-31. Tough second half for the Lady Cardinals.
Extremely tough second half. Now, hats off to Forest Lake. They're a very good basketball team, but they just, I mean, it wasn't at all the same team.
Nope.
They weren't moving the ball efficiently, effectively, carefully, and they weren't as pressuring as hard on defense. On the flip side, Forest Lake's defense was, they turned their defensive intensity up about 5 notches from first to second half.
Coach Pearson told me, he said, if we get in a hole, it's going to be very difficult for us to dig out. And you can see what happened in the second half. They got in a hole, they could not dig it out.
At the same time, I think those early games have shown there's a lot of good things within the Cardinal program.
For
you
sure.
talk about the class that they lost to graduation, Ellie Carver and the Twins and a couple of others. They lost a huge core from last year's team. So I think what they've seen, I like their chances to improve this year.
I do as well, because they have a number of different contributors, and it's just a matter of just keeping games close. And once they do, they have the ability to win games.
Yeah, they host St. Francis on Thursday, then they're at Armstrong next Tuesday. And Howie, we've got hockey on the schedule.
We do.
Girls hockey coming up on Tuesday from the Super Rink against Totino Grace, the Bluebirds, trying to get another win or two. Then it's wrestling on Friday. That'll be a doubleheader, Stillwater and Andover. And then girls hockey against Irondale on Tuesday, the 11th. But that's going to do it for this edition of Sportsnight. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us, continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young, saying goodnight.